Pacheco and Nelson. We were
Yeah,
looking forward to this one big time. Tell me about it.
for sure. So um, the undercard of that one, I think the co-main, we'll go like co-main down or whatever, is Andy Cruz and Omar Salcido. Andy Cruz showed why everybody's so high on Andy Cruz. The dude's amazing. He's they keep calling it a Cuban school of boxing, and that's like legit. I mean, in the amateurs, it's a Cuban school, and that's where he garnered his skill set initially. I think he's doing a good job of marrying amateur Cuban style with professional Philly style with the Ennis camp. He's with like Boots and Mosey and all them, and he's learning a lot. And you can tell he's learning a lot. He's got great stock selection, and again, he's in and out. He's going to be very tough to beat. He makes himself easier to hit than he probably was when he first became professional, but that's in pursuit of landing the knockout shot or at least going for it. I
Yeah.
really like Andy Cruz, but as far as the fight itself goes, he worked a little bit and he got the job done. That's about as far as that one goes. But the one before that was Tito Mercado and Jose Pedraza. I didn't
Hmm.
like it when they announced it. I didn't like it in the walkouts. I didn't like it while it was happening. Jose Pedraza, man, I love Jose Pedraza, the sniper. They called him that for a reason. That dude's 1-2, bam, would just like take anybody out of consciousness. But that was a long time ago. Now he's getting fed to these up and comers over and over again, and I feel like on one hand, I respect the hustle for Pedraza to. He needs to make money. He needs to feed his family. All that stuff's very important. And so I'm not going to tell him like, "Hey, man, you should retire" or anything. Not that he would listen to me, who he's never seen or heard of his entire life, but like just seeing what he was at his height and what he is now, it's like it's not that he's any worse of a person. It's just his body just can't hang with these young up and comers anymore. And so, as expected, Tito Mercado got him out of there less than a round. It was another situation where you first shot lands and you can tell he just ain't gonna hold up, and he didn't at all. But one before that was Rubalcava and Israel Mercado, Tito's uncle, Israel Mercado, and that fight. Well, Rubalcava was massive favorite going in. He was Robert Garcia's guy. I was pretty sure I never really heard of Israel. I've heard of Israel Mercado, but I hadn't. He wasn't somebody that really sticks out in my mind. I
Yeah.
went back and looked at his box rec, and I was like, oh yeah, I've seen him like a time. But obviously, like he's in his 30s. Actually, no, he's not. He's 29, I think. But he's balding, so he looks like he's in his 30s. But so he's in there up against this Rubalcava cat, young guy, pretty well rounded, pretty good. I mean, Garcia's training him, so you know he's like got missing talent or whatever. Something I don't know if it was Israel Mikado being way more crafty than expected, or if it was Rubalcava not really like feeling it or getting up for the fight or whatever. But there was a knockdown. I believe it was round one. Later on in that fight, the ref took a point holding, which I thought was bullshit, but whatever. And I believe it was I think it was an 8-round fight if I recall correctly. But other than that, Israel Mikado was like teaching this young man everything there was to learn. Like he
Yeah.
was using he was odd in his movements and his the basically every time he had a chance to throw a punch, whatever position he was in, no matter what, he threw the fucking punch. He was just
Hmm.
touching him every single chance that every opening he saw, he just threw it wherever he was at, whatever he was doing. Rubalcava didn't know how to handle it. And so they read the scorecards, and I knew it was going to happen before they read it, but it ended up being a draw. Trash. I understand that there was 3 points down, like right off the bat in an 8-point fight, or an 8-round fight. Going to kind of catch up to you pretty quick, and it makes it pretty easy to get a draw, even if you're ahead and all that. But the dude won every single round, other than the one he was dropped in, and even in the one that he got the point deducted in, he won that round too. That was a 9-9 round. It wasn't a 10-8. So to me, it was a. I'm not going to call it a highway robbery. I've been more upset about other things. This wasn't like I'm giving up the sport of boxing forever, but I thought it would. This dude like had a chance to be on this big card. Put everything he had into it against all odds. Showed this kid who should have out talented him. Showed him everything there was to learn about boxing. Like, just because it looks funny doesn't mean it's not landing. I love the way he did it. I really respect the dude, and now I'm a massive Israel Mikado fan. But anyway, majority draw for that. But and then the main event, of course, you got Diego Pacheco and Steven So Cold Nelson. As far as that goes, I don't know if everybody knows this. I'm a So Cold Nelson fan for sure. Been following dude forever. Really big fan of his. Diego Pacheco, also a fan. I mean, he's very good. He's been so promising, but he's like 23. So going in, I was like, well, if anybody has time to learn a lesson and bounce back, it's going to be Diego Pacheco. So maybe that psychologically, maybe he'll be like, well, maybe I can lose one. And I know that Nelson was thinking, like, I cannot lose this no matter what. Going into the fight, it went all 12 rounds. Nelson was, I think he got off to a pretty good start. Like first round, the whole thing, the first few rounds were pretty nip and tuck. But Nelson got off to a pretty good start. He was like getting his shots in here and there. Pacheco was, he's usually kind of a slow starter, and he kind of was good in a slow start, but you could tell he wasn't putting everything into it, but he was finding the shots as it was happening. And then second round, finding more shots as they were opening themselves. And then the cut happens on Nelson. And I feel like you can have the best game plan in the world. And I'm kind of jumping around, but I feel like you can have the best game plan in the world, and you can even have everything working for you. And something seemingly on the outside as minuscule as a cut can throw you completely out of your game. And it was a cut over his eye. So there's blood getting into his eye. There's the psychological component of it wasn't no headbutt either. He caught me with a clean right and cut my eye. So he's bleeding. I think from that point on, Pacheco was one coming on, which credit to Pacheco, because he really was, he was doing a really good job. That he previous fights, I had seen that he kind of gets bored when he's fighting like an outboxer would, or just like really like pure boxing. He gets kind of bored and just like, all right, I'm just going to mix it up now or whatever. And he would actually like stayed on his game plan. Didn't when he didn't have to, was finding his shots really well. It was like crisper and sharper and even faster than I'd ever seen him be before. And Nelson was kind of in a weird position, stayed out kind of in no man's land for the majority of the middle rounds, where he couldn't quite get in fast enough and he couldn't quite stay out far enough. And that kind of, I mean, that's how I saw, the beginning and the middle. How did you see that?
Similar. I thought Pacheco took the first couple of rounds. I had him taking the first three. But I see what you mean. Nelson was doing a solid job of kind of getting in there, just not well enough. I thought he had trouble keeping his feet under him when he moved in and out. You could tell mentally he knew what he needed to do. I just think it was a mix of Diego Pacheco being hip and being smart in there, and also Nelson not being physically able to do exactly what he wanted to do mentally. And of course he's got the brilliant Bomac in his corner. He's got one of the best ever in his camp. So he definitely came there well prepared, but I don't know. I feel like this is a time/age thing, as you kind of alluded to. But he did good. Pacheco's shot selection for me, honestly, was a little bit spotty. Like I don't think he was just irresponsible in there, but I just don't think he was brilliant in there. But I think that's, like you said, he's pretty young, so he's definitely got time to improve on that. But he's definitely
I wouldn't call it
fighting.
Brilliant.
No, definitely not.
But it's an improvement, and he just keeps gradually improving, which is all you can really ask for. And I think I tend to agree with you as far as the age. I don't think it's all age. I think it's inactivity and age, and just all of it coming, and then also the cut and everything. Not to say that it's over with for his career. I think he's still got some good fights in him. I think he can give a lot of people runs for their money, especially considering the 11th and 12th round later on. I just feel like you can almost see when somebody knows what to do and their body just doesn't quite get there. It's like less than a split second, less than half a second, less than like milliseconds. Now, and it just isn't quite as quick, fast, twitchy as it needs to be when you're in your 30s, and you can overcome that. Lots of people do it. It's just you you get used to fighting when you're in your 20s or teens, or some people when they're little children or whatever. And once you hit the age where things start kind of slowing down for you, you have to make the adjustment for that. And if you're not very, very active, then it's going to be hard for you to notice it and also correct it, or do what it needs to do to overcome those kind of things. But that said, the 12th round, he finally closed the distance the way he needed to. He was getting shots out the way he needed to. It's not like Pacheco was like a sitting duck or anything, but Nelson like really put it on, because we got 2 more rounds to go. Like I gotta do what I can and land something big. And so Nelson gave a valiant effort. And I think, I'm proud of, honestly, like I was rooting for him going in. We've corresponded a little bit. Hopefully we can get him in here with us here pretty quick, coming off of that. But even with all that, like it just didn't go his way. It just wasn't his night. It was one of the things. And then it was Pacheco's night. And I'm also very proud of Pacheco. But Nelson showed grit. He showed how good he was. It wasn't sane through the whole thing, but he did show. I feel like at least the majority of what his level is. I'm sure he can up it a little bit on certain nights or whatever. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, now that this fight's over with or whatever, he lost the fight. I think really get him back in there with anybody in the top 10, and he's going to give him either a run for his money or he's going to win those fights. And then that's the same with Pacheco. I think both those dudes, you just throw them in there with anybody, other than Canelo. And even then, like, what do we think about Canelo? But he's kind of got his year planned out for him or whatever. But as far as, Plants, Berlangas, Munguias, all those cats, like, get Pacheco in there and get Nelson in there too. I think it would be great. I think there's a lot of opportunities for both of those guys. How do you, in that particular part, as far as what's to come, how do you feel about any of that? Do you have anybody in mind for either of them?
I think Berlanga called him out after the fight, right?
Did he?
I believe he tweeted.
He didn't say. I do remember that. He acted like Pacheco. He's like, with your little money or whatever, here I am, Berlanga, with all this money. Like, bro, you had one fiscally good fight and you lost the fight and you got dropped in the fight. And you celebrated for months after losing a fight. You ain't all that. You're not suddenly worth millions of dollars. Like, you ain't George Kambosos. You didn't win the fight. Like, if you won, big surprise. Okay, dude is owed a few more paydays. Berlanga, you're not owed more paydays. You need to take what you can get, because your life is passing you by, and those fights aren't going to be there forever. So you may as well do what you can with your career, the fun fights. That's all you have left to do. I don't think you're going to become the next Crawford. You're not going to be pound for pound top fucking 30. Just fight the fights. Like, I think he's exciting. I think he's good for the sport. And I think that anybody who can bring more Puerto Rican fans to anything is a net positive for the community. I don't even dislike Berlanga at all. I think he's a good kid or whatever. But you ain't some like highfalutin top tier guy that people need to fight their way to. You're not anywhere close to that. You're barely in the top 10, dude. So either fight Munguia or fight Pacheco, or even fight Nelson. I don't give a shit. Fight somebody and don't be pricing yourself out like Teofimo Lopez or something like that. Sorry, that was a rant. That was a
warranted rant. I completely forgot about this thing about Teofimo Lopez talking about he's this superstar, hasn't even fought on a pay-per-view yet. Then you got Berlanga, who has only fought on one pay-per-view, and it was against Canelo, and never should have happened in the first place. Literally got blessed, gifted, or whatever you want to say, handed to him. But yeah, I mean, you're 27 years old, my guy, to be talking down on a young undefeated champion like that, or not champion, right? That it was like one of the silver belts or
silver
USA
and
belts.
Yeah.
But a young undefeated guy.
NABO, I believe, and WBC silver and NABO, if I recall correctly, were the two belts on the line.
Yeah, just another reason for the commissions to collect some of your purse. That's all those belts are. But
exactly.
To be talking down on him is a little tone deaf, honestly. But hey, man, look, if you want to make that fight happen, I'd love it. I'd love to see it. But I like what you said about those 4 guys. You got Nelson, you got Pacheco, you got Berlanga, and you got Plant. You can make a lot of
And
fight with
Munguia.
those four. Who?
Munguia ain't he got knocked out, but anybody can get knocked out. He's fine. He's gonna come back
Yeah.
and be fine.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
yeah,
sure.
you got Munguia. But I feel like, I don't know. I really want to give Munguia a pass, bro. Like, there a lot of fighters talk about fighting at home and how much that can take from you, and how much pressure that puts on you. And I honestly want to give him a pass for that, especially being a younger
He had
dude.
an active ass year, dude. Like, that was his fourth fight. And also give him a pass because, like, I didn't see that KO shot from Sarase coming. I know you didn't see it. Like,
yeah. Well,
nobody in the world thought that was going to happen. Least of all,
No.
probably Munguia and his team and everything.
Yeah. I don't know. And the count was kind of fast, honestly, which I love fast
That was
counts.
fast, but that's fine.
Stop the fight.
I didn't have a. Yes, it was fast, but that fight needed to be stopped regardless.
But stop the fight. I think there's a lot of opportunities for him. A lot of time, like you said, a lot of opportunities for Stephen Soka Nelson, and also, I would also love to have him on the show.
Here's the real question. Yeah, please, Nelson, get on the show. I would love to do it.
Yeah.
Here's the real question. Do you think at this point, let's say Canelo gets through this year, he fights Skull for the belt again, becomes undefeated again, fights Crawford at the end of the year, September or whatever it is. Do you think 2026, you think he'd fight Diego Pacheco?
I don't think Canelo would fight again if he fights Crawford. I don't think Crawford would fight again if he fights Canelo. I think both of them would take that super crazy back that they're going to get for that fight. And I would like that. I would like that for both of them. You know, like for myself, I would like Crawford to keep fighting. I would like Canelo to keep fighting if he fights fucking Benavidez. But I would like him for myself. I'd like to keep watching him, especially if he makes the right fights. You know what I'm saying? Like fighting Edgar Berlanga was a huge turnoff. My God, like, but selfishly, I would love Crawford. But like as a fan of them as people, like as somebody that always roots for people, like me rooting for Crawford, me rooting for Canelo, fight each other. No matter how it fucking goes, unless it's like a close decision, which is very unlikely. If it's a close decision, fight each other again, and then leave. But if not, no matter how it goes, fight each other and call it dip. Like you're gonna make an ungodly amount of money that night, bro.
Yeah,
do it and dip.
For completely different reasons, because they're both about the same age or whatever. I mean, one's got a lot more pro miles on him than the other and everything. But like, as far as Crawford goes, I mean, he's 37, gonna be 38 when they fight. He's going for the gusto. He's going for greatness, and I'm so excited that it's probably gonna happen. Like, incredibly excited. I think that intellectually, I'm like, how would he pull that off? Like, the difference is absolutely massive.
Yeah.
But if anybody ever seen in my entire like years and years of watching boxing or combat sports in general, if anybody is going to be that great to do something that phenomenal as his last little go out on fight, it's going to be Crawford for sure. If anybody can do it, he can do it. And there's no doubt he can outbox Canelo.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, can he like make him miss every single time? Like, we'll see. And then what's Canelo got left? And then I think the same thing for Canelo, because he can keep running those miles up and he can just keep fighting these fights with these younger dudes that are getting stronger and better, especially somebody like Pacheco, who's increasingly getting better and stronger as he ages and everything. I think I agree with you. Yeah, I think either way, however that fight goes, both of y'all just go off into the sunset. Canelo buy a bunch of horses, live on a ranch. You and Oscar Valdez can feed the day together, and Crawford just go own Nebraska, as far as I'm concerned. I think that'd be a great way for them both to go.
Eagle on the track.